Now, the population of overweight people in West Africa is growing by the day. And that's according to figures supplied by the Food and Agriculture Organization, which also noticed that most of the people found to be overweight and obese are mainly in urban areas. Now, to try and shed some of the excess weight, many, especially in the working class, are resorting to quick fix weight loss plans, which provide, well, no strategy to keep the weight off. The next piece will engage people in Ghana, Sierra Leone, the Gambia and Togo on the subject. And it's all put together by someone who calls herself overweight.
The weighing scale. We have a love and hate relationship. On days I feel my face is not looking too chubby, I'm in a hurry to know how many kilos I've lost. On a day like today, when my neck looks full, no way. Where I come from, overweight used to be a sign of good living, but not anymore. That is difficult to admit on camera. I am overweight. I will withhold my name for now. It'll be the last thing you hear in this piece. The Food and Agriculture Organization State of Food and Nutrition Security of 2018 estimated there are about 47.6 million people suffering from undernutrition in West Africa. However, the prevalence of obesity in adults has increased from 6.4% in 2012 to 7.7% in 2017. In the heart of Accra, Jamestown, meet sisters Rose and Monica. 58-year-old Monica Okine tells me she believes making wrong food choices caused her weight gain. 2 of her children are overweight, and she now advises them to exercise.
I have 5 children, 2 boys, 3 girls.
And then are
they are all fat. When I was 25 years, I used to eat pork. I like pork, fat foods, you see. So I think that's why I've been making fat. Because when I was 40, I stopped all this. But the fat, I think the one I've been eating is the plum.
According to Monica, she grew up in an era where society tagged one beautiful because they are rounded and full. She has tried some diet plans without results. She doesn't know her current weight.
When people saw you when you are fat, hey, you are fine. Oh, you are making fine. So you don't think about making any exercise because you think you are making fine. In use of herbal drinks coming in, she's still in your body.
Rose, 65, says though she is overweight, she feels thin when in town with Monica.
I walk a lot, but anytime I'm with Monica, we have to take a taxi.
Meet 41-year-old Francisca Lamte. She believes her weight gain is hereditary because all her diet plans and exercises have failed.
I take weight loss medication and exercise sometimes, but I don't lose weight. It runs in the family.
It's bad problem about dalekula. If like me fine because dalen.
I know that feeling of trying diet plans with zero results. The failure is so frustrating. I've become my own private health food chef, collecting food images for inspiration. Urbanization is changing local diet and lifestyle. All the women we spoke to in Accra admitted to eating fast and junk food at night. Type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease and stroke, sleep apnea, osteoarthritis, fatty liver disease, kidney disease are some of the health problems linked to overweight and obesity. Now, in the Gambia, prevalence of overweight among adults in that country has grown 6.2% between 2007 and 2016, according to Report Linker. With the effects of obesity in mind, Gambia's former Minister of Sports and Interior, Sherif Gomez, initiated the health walk in his province. We caught up with these fitness enthusiasts on Saturday.
7,100.
7,100.
Wow. 5.5 kilometers.
5.5 Ks.
Wow.
5.5. Good one. That's a good one. Good distance.
Mr. Gomez hopes to make the weekly health walk a national event. He suggests some ways to deal with the obesity trend.
Let's reflect back and look at what we were doing right, and what are we doing wrong now to cause this phenomena in obesity. Again, we must, once we've done that, we should find the solutions. Once we've done that, we should also get out to be more active.
Nigeria also continues to grow fatter. A recent study published in the Open Access Journal indicated how obesity is rising in Nigeria, blaming Western culture on diets and lifestyle. Just as Monica told us, at Jamestown in Ghana, weight goes with prosperity in Nigeria as well. Some people say they come from a place of fat. One of such people is Mohammed Kone in Freetown, Sierra Leone. He believes it is okay to gain weight, but one must be careful not to become obese, and he shares how he maintains his weight.
Mortal man, as a human being, you for fat, but you not for too much fat in a way that you never even able to work out. You for fat, but you forget limits. I born my fat one. I go from way as small, and so I grow. Till up till now, my fatness do with me. The reason I make us know you get some, because God give me, na nature.
He, however, disagrees with the assertion overeating makes people gain weight.
People like you say, some man they fat because of the heat. But me, I tell them say, some people and they not for that, but some people and they for me. The reason what make us know you get and because fat naturally, I saw me day. I eat and not eat. I exercise my body now so in day. So now nature, now God give me. So I never regret in life. And I really tell God Almighty, thank you for what you do for me.
I spoke to Ayele, a trader at Asigame in Togo. She recounts how her weight posed a challenge during a military unrest in the country.
During the political unrest, people were running, but I couldn't run. I couldn't hide under the bed, but I have lost some weight now.
Another woman, Yvette, says she lost control of her weight after giving birth and now depends on painkillers due to her waist pain. I am convinced I need to lose weight. Difficult as it may be, it has to be done. I am my own body goal. My name is Seyram Abla de Souza.
And Sarah Abla de Souza, my colleague, bringing us an extensive appreciation of the subject that we're dealing with on a Healthy Thursday, obesity. Last week we talked about stress and weight, and today we want to focus more on the weights. My guest, well, our Healthy Thursday doctor is the head of cardiology, fortunately for us, head of cardiology at the University of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Akama. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Good to have you as always.
Always good to be here.
Can we start, especially when we were rolling the prevalence rate as we have it in Ghana?
Yes.
I realize obese and overweight. Yes. What's the difference?
Well, obesity has to do with the weight of a person in terms of categorization. The World Health Organization and other bodies, especially the diabetic associations, the cardiovascular associations, have come together to come out with a criteria using BMI, using the weight and the height of a person. So if you put the weight and height of a person together, and you can find that on any Google map, or Google search engine, you look for BMI calculator, and you put in your numbers, and it comes out to a figure. And that figure is used to define what weight category you belong to. So the normal BMI is between 18.5 and 25. So that is pretty good. So if you're in that range, you're okay. If you're below 18.5, then you are underweight. And there are various categories of underweight. Whereas if you exceed 25.5, then you are getting to the overweight category. 25.5 to 30 puts you in the overweight category. Then above 30, you're in the obese category. And there are various levels of obesity. But in my practice, I just tell people, if you're not in the normal range, you have to take action. But it gives consolence to people who are in the overweight weight, but they're not obese, to work hard to bring themselves back to the normal range, which is the 18 to 25.5 BMI category. Yes.
And my understanding is that there are also types of it as well.
Yes.
There are types.
Yes.
Can you take us through?
So the types of obesity has to do with where is the fat deposited. Okay. So there are these two categories of fat deposition that we have to be aware of. There's the visceral fat deposition and then the subcutaneous fat deposition. So when you are obese, it depends on where most of the fat is deposited. That can risk stratify you. So the visceral fat deposition is dangerous. It's not good, and it's related to a lot of bad outcomes. So the visceral fat deposition is basically fat around the internal organs, around the liver, inside the liver, around the intestines, around the kidneys. So this is called the visceral fat deposition. And normally you see somebody with a big belly, but the skin is not very fatty. So the belly is really big because there's a lot of visceral fat. There's something called omentum that contains a lot of fat, and that is related to a lot of cardiovascular problems, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, cancer of the colon. In women, even breast cancer can be related to visceral fat. As opposed to the subcutaneous fat, which we see under our skin, the buttocks and other areas, that also has some bad outcomes, but not as dangerous as a visceral fat. And you can determine in Ghana, you can determine your fat content various ways. There are machines that you can hold that will give you resistance, that will calculate your fat content. Not very reliable, but the most reliable one is the MRI. That will take a picture of your abdomen, your whole organ, and it will be able to tell how much visceral fat you have.
Okay.
Another way is to do an ultrasound of the liver. If you do an ultrasound of the liver and there's fat in the liver, that has a direct relationship with the amount of visceral fat you have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So these are ways you can find out how much visceral fat you have.
So on a regular day, the fat that I take, where does it go to?
Well, the fat we take in our food is used as a fuel. So we have different types of fuel as a human being. Just like a car, you have diesel, you have petrol, you have gas. So in the body, we have glucose as our number 1 fuel. We have fatty acids as our number 2. And then you have other components like lactic acid and other things. So glucose is preferable. So anytime you eat anything, your body tends to convert it into glucose. And the glucose is burnt, is efficient. It's burnt to give you ATP, which is the energy we use to do whatever we want to do. But most often we consume more than we use. So the body in its wisdom wants to deposit some for the lean season. So anytime you eat fatty food, it is converted, it's digested, and through the liver is processed. Some of it is stored as glucagon, which can be used for the process of converting into glucose, glycogen. But in the deposition, it normally deposits the excess energy, calorie, as fat. And the body will deposit it in areas where it can retrieve easily.
Okay.
So the visceral fat is one location. Another area is the subcutaneous fat. Then when you are hungry, you can use part of that. You never will die from hunger. Okay?
Never ever?
Never. Unless you starve for a year or longer period.
Okay.
But if you live on just water, you can strive for a long period. Jesus did it for 40 days and 40 nights. So you wouldn't die because you're going to be using the various components that have been stored. You grow lean, you lose all the weight, and then once you start eating again, you gain it back on. So long as you're drinking water, you can live a long period without eating food.
Okay.
Yes. Of course, you feel tired and weak and dizzy, but basically you'll be consuming what you have stored. That's why when people get admitted to the hospital, they come out very lean because they are not eating, they are sick, the illness makes them consume the fat, or the food they're eating is not sufficient, so they lose weight. If you fast for a long period, you eventually lose some weight. Yes.
How do I know I'm obese? Because sometimes you think you're okay, but you are overweight.
Yes, so you think you're okay, but you have to have a perception. Sometimes we don't have a real perception of who we are. So the reality is mad. But if you know your weight, the first thing is to calculate the BMI and see what category are you. If you're a short person, your BMI can easily overshoot. If you're a tall person, your BMI can be within the range, even though you look big. So you have to calculate the BMI. The next thing is to see your clothing. Are they fitting? If you're changing your clothing every 3 months because the size is getting bigger, don't feel you are looking beautiful or handsome. Know that you are gaining weight. Okay. So those are the things, your waistline. So there are 3 ways you can find out. One is to calculate your BMI, to check your waist circumference and your abdominal circumference. Of course, if you want to go on to check the other components of your body composition, like how much water you have, how much fat you have, how much protein you have, you can do all those calculations using very new technology and MRI capability modalities. But basically, to be simple, check how many clothing size you have gone up.
Okay.
2, check your weight regularly, naked. So they can.
So stand on the scale naked.
Yes, naked, with no clothing on, and then you measure the BMI. So you can easily get it. You go onto the internet, click BMI calculator, put in the figures, and you get your BMI.
Okay.
And then you use it as a yardstick. So, like I said, 18.5 to 25 is normal. Be above 25.5, then you're getting to overweight. Above 30, you're getting to obesity.
Okay.
So if you're in this range, you take action. Even those who are in normal range, you have to take action so you don't cross the line.
Okay.
Yes.
Can a person naturally be born with fats, and can you grow with it? Some people say I come from a family where, fats is with us really.
Right. So there is this concept that people use to disparage the fact that they are obese. That, oh, my families, they are all big bones and big. People are families that are tall, huge, and stuff like that. But that doesn't say you're not obese. You can come from a family that is big, tall, but you will still be obese. That doesn't mean that you should keep it going. But most of the obesity that we acquire is mostly it's not inherited. It's not inherited. It's from behavior. It's like we talked last week about stress. Stress in Ghana has some connotation with obesity. So if you're stressed, you're likely to be obese because you're going to be eating at odd hours. You're going to be eating food that gives you calories in excess. You're going to be eating food that we call soothing food that will calm you. And mostly they are sugary, they are fizzy drinks. Or you have a medical condition that makes you obese, like thyroid disease, hormonal changes like cortisol, excess cortisol. But by and large, in Ghana, the reason why there's obesity, and if you look at the trend, is because of inactivity. Inactivity among the children, inactivity among adults, especially as we come to the urban centers. So as you go to the rural areas, the obesity goes down. And if you look at the report that was given, the farther you go away from Accra, Kumasi, the less likely the person is going to be obese. And the tribes they gave, Gadangwe had the highest level of obesity, is because where they are. Gadangwe is within Accra, Akans are within Kumasi. So it hasn't got to do with the tribe per se, but the access to calorie-rich diet.
Okay. And it's linked to more of geographical, because you said it's not the tribe.
Yes, that's my thinking. It's not so much of the tribe. It has to do with the geographical location and access to extra food, the stress level. So the Frafra man up in Bongo has less access to food that will give him a lot of calorie. And a Akam man in Accra has access to banku, fufu. He eats it every day. The Frafra man is teased maybe once a day or something like that. So when you take them, you will see that he is lean, she is fat. But you bring that Frafra man to Accra, and then now he has access to fufu and banku. He's going to grow big. Similarly, there's a study that was recently conducted among Ghanaians living in Ghana and Ghanaians elsewhere in Europe. And what they found was that Ghanaians in Europe were likely to be obese when they were stressed versus Ghanaians in Ghana when they were stressed. But when you look at the study very well, if you're in a village and you are stressed, you grow lean. When you're in Accra and you are stressed, you grow big. Because in Accra, you tend to eat at odd hours, you have a lot of access to food that will make you grow big. Interesting
revelations there. But let's talk about how to reduce the weight. How do I control it? For persons who tend to harbor the fat around the tummy area, it could be a lot of work. How do you get rid of it?
Well, I think for most of us out there who are obese, don't get discouraged. It's one of the most tough things to do. To lose weight. It's equated to people who want to quit alcohol, who want to quit smoking. That's how tough weight reduction is. So don't get discouraged. And most of you who have family members, don't discourage them, don't tease them. That's the first thing. Rather, encourage them to be upgoing. The first thing I would say is that reduce the calorie intake. Reduce calorie intake. The food has become so fine. Banku is now very fine that as soon as you consume it, you have a lot of calorie, access to calorie within your body. So the body doesn't use it, and so it has to deposit it. Fine rice, polished rice, avoid that. Kenke has less caloric content than banku. So if you eat, because kenke is more has more fiber than banku.
So that's why you said banku has become fine.
Yes.
Okay.
So and fine, another fine that we should use is fine fufu. Fine fufu is dangerous. Not to discourage the sellers, but it has a lot of calorie. You easily digest.
So this is the processed one.
Yes, the processed one.
Okay.
Processed one. So Those are the foods that have a lot of calories. Let's try to do more walking. That's another one. Sedentary lifestyle is very high. Exercise. The next thing we should tackle is alcohol consumption. Anytime you drink one beer, know that you're going to gain weight. Guinness, you're going to gain weight. So beer consumption, even people who drink Adonko and all those beverages, not to disparage Adonko bitters, maybe they'll get me, but all those bitters and stuff have a lot of calorie content.
I guess essentially what we are saying is just
Alcohol.
check what you're drinking and
Alcohol.
minimize it, or if you can avoid it, then avoid it.
Exactly. And then try to reduce your stress level. We talked about stress the last time. It's difficult to reduce stress in Ghana, but you have to find ways of decreasing your activity level and being a family person, rather engaging in things that will give you more restful moments and satisfaction.
Okay.
Yes.
So the pot belly, is it fat? Sometimes it feels really hard.
Yes.
Which one is better?
So pot belly that is hard is not very good.
Okay.
Yes. Pot belly that is soft, in my mind, has a lot of fat content on the subcutaneous portion. The one that is hard means that the skin is taut, the skin is tight. Most of the fat is inside, and that's the visceral fat. So pot belly that is tight means the person has a lot of visceral fat, and his risk of getting diabetes is high. His risk of getting hypertension is high, getting a heart attack is high, getting colon cancer and other cancers. So if you're fat and it's flabby, most likely you have more external fat, that is the subcutaneous fat. If your fat and is tight, most likely your liver is fatty, and fatty liver is also not good, but it's one of the causes of liver disease.
Okay. Maybe finally on this, before we give our final tips and wrap up on this, I met somebody who said, and this is pot belly hard fats.
Yes.
Okay, maybe not fat. I can't say fat because I'm not a doctor, but hard. And he said, I have been doing everything, but it's not going. Can you guess what points where even when you exercise, the stomach is, or the tummy is simply not going down?
Yes, so like we talked about how people gain weight. It's not just one thing. Losing weight has to have a multi-dimensional approach. You have to have the weight, the exercise you're doing gives you fitness, but it's not burning enough. So if you burn 10 calories and you put in 20 calories, you've done cost 90 work. Okay, so you have to burn the fat, you have to reduce how much calorie you take, you have to reduce the stress, you have to engage in a regular recurrent program to make sure that your weight stays down.
Okay.
So it's not just exercising. Maybe there's a medical condition. Maybe, so you need to talk to your doctor. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're stressed. So if you attack it in various ways, you'll be able to control that weight.
Okay.
And I always tell people, sometimes when you start an exercise program, you wouldn't see the external fat go away. The visceral fat goes away faster than the external fat. So don't get discouraged.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. One of the things that, you know, I'm mindful of, you said, don't tease people who are obese. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Next week we will continue in another way, because Doc is going to give us a series of exercises that we can do, and we will teach you how to do that. So our conversation, our Healthy Thursday conversation, is to be continued. For now, thank you very much, Dr. Joseph Akama. He's the head of cardiology, University of Ghana. Stay with us. We've got Showbiz, courtesy Awake Purified Drinking Water. Becky is here with some news.